Hello, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Let's see. I am telling you, people, I am struggling. Can I get a 5x5, please? Good morning, people. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. And I'll tell you something, peeps. I can't begin to tell you the amount of fun I am having right now on the lifeboat. If you go back through the history of the boat, I'm at a point right now that I have not been in. Period. I've had a lot of fun doing the lifeboat from the very first day that we started doing this. I have had a great time, and hey, my brother Johnny, I have had the best time doing this channel. I really have. I mean, there's been ups and downs, but I have enjoyed doing the lifeboat more than anything I've ever done. But there's never been a time where I've enjoyed it more than I'm enjoying it right now. 5x5, Kathy. That means on a scale of 1 to 5 on audio, we are at a 5. Mind my blues. Good afternoon from Munich. Well, it's great to have you here. And then the other 5 would be audio. So it's just a double thumbs up for audio and video. Sometimes you get a 4x4 and you're not doing great on either. You don't have a good connection. It's just a way to let me know that you can hear me and you can see me and all is good. Balake, good to see you. So I'm having a very good time doing this lifeboat thing. I really am. I'm having a ball. And this has been as as alive as the channel's ever been, in my opinion. We've had some good runs. Right now, this is a lot of fun. This is amazing. There's people getting helped every day, and it's good stuff. And I like every aspect of it. I like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do show prep, and I like getting ready to roll into what we're doing. Kelly Gerling, thank you for the email. A beautiful email from Kelly. Absolutely a beautiful email. Touched my heart, and I really appreciate it. So getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and doing a little show prep. I've done 1,000 of these. Surprised you didn't know that. And when you've cranked off 1,050 of these, I don't know how many we've done. We've done a bunch. When you've done that many of these, you start rehashing things, and you start going through things over and over again. And I'll tell you something. You occasionally toss out a little clickbait. And if people think you already wear a tinfoil hat, putting mind control up there is a pretty good one. It's not the mind control that we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about things like MK Ultra. But you know what? I'm going to touch on it, and I'll tell you why. If you're familiar with MK Ultra, this is not a conspiracy theory, and I can prove it. But it is not a conspiracy theory. It is a program that one of our alphabet agencies, the one that starts with a C, did experiments on individuals for quite a long period of time, actually. And they had many goals in mind with the MK Ultra program. But one was to invent, or to create, I should say, a Manchurian candidate, a person that would kill on demand. And do so with very little, if any, memory whatsoever of what they did. Kathy says narcissists do this to people. Absolutely, they do. And people at all ends of the spectrum do what they can to control other people's minds. Sometimes not even realizing that they're doing it. But so I always believed that MK Ultra was an urban legend, a conspiracy theory, not something that was real. I struggled to believe that people did this. I struggled to believe that our government went out of its way to actually brainwash people. I thought there's no way. During one of the lockdowns, during one of the very long lockdowns that I did in the federal prison system, I've told this story before, but someone said to me, would it be cool if I used your social security or your prison number, your register number, In the federal government, you get a 5-digit number, a dash, and then a 3-digit number. And the 3-digit number is really where you're from. So if a person has an 801 after their name, they got busted in Utah, and that's so every state has its own number, and some states have 5 or 6 numbers because of the size of them. But this number allows you to do certain things within the system, and one of the things that it allows you to do is to do FOIA requests. FOIA is an acronym for the Freedom of Information Act. And it gives inmates an opportunity to bust the balls of the federal government, for lack of a better way to put it, and get them to spend money sending them top secret documents, that things for years and years and years you couldn't get. And most of the time, the guys were researching aliens and things that were fun to read about, because we did do a lot of unusual stuff in that arena. The information came in, and because I gave up my my register number for this guy, it got mailed to me. And we were on a lockdown, and I hadn't had reading material in a hot minute. So when they delivered, a stack of papers that, I am not exaggerating, were probably 22, 23 inches high. Like, this thing was just a novel, right? And it's not organized. In fact, they do everything they can to put stuff out of place. They hope that you're going to give up on it. So at first I went through and I put everything into different places, and eventually I came across the document that was about MK Ultra, and so much of what you could read is redacted. They just take a black magic marker and they go over all of this stuff, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult to read. What you do realize is there was a great big budget for this, and it was a program they did about mind control. And it got me really interested in the subject. And I read a bunch of books by a bunch of people who claimed to know a great deal about what happened in this. People who were in the program either being worked on, or they were the people doing the work, or all kinds of different stuff. Now, are all of those people telling the truth? Well, there's no way to know, because it is a covert operation. And in its base form, there aren't going to be a lot of people who are talking about it at the time, or even years later. So I read these stories, read these books, and it's pretty frightening stuff. But the one thing that comes back over and over again is there's a way to do this. This is not a difficult thing to do. To break somebody down so that you can actually reprogram their entire brain is something that is super possible. And every large culture on this planet has done it to one degree or another. Siegel, well done. That is absolutely amazing. And I'll tell you what, you have the most important 3 days, right? Siegel, there is nothing more important than the 3 days that you just got under your belt. Every other day that you put in from this point on is going to be easier, right? True story. Those first 3 are rugged. Those first 3 are the biggest commitment. And man, oh man, that's why we're here. Nothing is more important than that. Good for you, man. I don't think there's anything cooler than reading 3 days. Those 1, 2, and 3 days when somebody puts that up on the lifeboat, man, that's good stuff. Good for you. Goddess Divine says Scientologist. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Especially, the people that go to Scientology and walk through the front door and start paying for programs and whatever. But the people who are in the Sea Org and what those people were put through, and when you start to hear some of the things that happen to them, there are things that make you far more susceptible to brainwashing. And I'll bet you that if I asked everybody in here what those things were, you guys could rattle off a bunch of theories off the top of your head. But I'll tell you, the biggest one of all is sleep. The biggest one of all is sleep. If you're not giving your subconscious an opportunity to do what it is supposed to do, right, then you are far more susceptible to your brain being manipulated in ways you do not want it to be manipulated. Did you catch that? You got to get sleep. And I'll tell you something else. You know what else they do to you to really screw you up? They decimate your routine. They take the schedule that you live in real life and they blow it the hell up, and they leave you with a schedule that is so different than what you did originally that it breaks up the patterns that we are so accustomed to. And when that happens, you are really susceptible to having your brain played with a little bit. Lady BB, good to see you. Glad that you're here. I think I said Lady BB. Is that what it said? Lady BB, glad that you're here. Good to see you. So what does this mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means that you had better, well, Scoob, hang in there, girl. I have a feeling the next few days are actually going to get better. I really believe that, Scoob, and you will see. But I think the next few days are going to get better, Scoob. If you watch TV, it happens daily. Well, look, you know what? Look, there's something to that. And hey, full of hope. Good to see you. Full of hope. I'm so sorry to hear that. It's something I think that as parents we really struggle with. And yesterday I went out last night to meet with a group of kids. I was actually talking to doing what I do with drugs and kids and things like that. I did that last night after the lifeboat, and I went out and met a group of people in their early 20s, and these kids are actually doing really, really well. But I was astounded at just the life that these kids live. It is so much different than the one that I did. You did see a putty tat. She is here very often, but full of hope. I am going to be praying for you, and I pray for you all the time. By the way, I pray for all of you all the time. But I was praying for you just recently, full of hope. But I'm going to change what I'm praying for. It is a painful thing. It really is. What did Shakespeare say? Oh, how sharper than a serpent's tooth to have a thankless child. I don't remember what play that was from. Probably could have told you that a few years ago, but oh, how sharper than a serpent's tooth. I know it's not drinking. I know it's not drugs, but it's still something that is a daily part of your. King Lear, my brother says. He's probably right. It's not something. In fact, that would make complete sense since King Lear. Since the storyline, please don't play with that, kitty. Yeah, I think it is. It is King Lear. It's all part of the human condition, and it's all part of what we do to try to stay sober, full of hope. It doesn't matter if it's booze or if it's drug related. I mean, we really are a channel about trying to help people live their best life. And you know what? Chase the Heat. If you look that up, Johnny, I'd be willing to take a bet on that one. It was misquoted to us for a long time. I would do 3 cats if I could take care of 3 cats, but I'm at an age now where even taking care of this one sometimes is she's a full-time job. She really is. She's a full-time job. So working as a public speaker for a large portion of my life, I was an experience that gave me an opportunity to see what happens to the human being when you're trying to communicate. You're trying to go out and get a message out to people, and at the same time as that's happening, you have a thought loop that never really turns off. And I mean, this should be fairly obvious, right? If I'm talking to you and I'm doing it off of the top of my head and I'm doing it extemporaneously, or even if I've got bullet points or I have things that I need to get across, I am creating a tapestry with words, right? You're doing everything. You're doing everything within your power to think of the next thing that you're going to say. And the first time that you do that, there's really nothing to it. Thank you, Johnny. Yeah, I remember being shocked the first time I saw it, but it is absolutely, it is a thankless child. What to do if all you do is sleep? I don't drink or do drugs. I sleep to escape. Lady BB, that is something that happens to a lot of people who are struggling with depression. It's one of the it is one of the number one symptoms that, one of the number one questions that they ask you about when you go and talk to somebody about mental health. They ask you how long you're sleeping. They ask you if you have a struggle getting out of bed, if you lay in bed during the days, because these are things that are affectations of depression. And I have been there in my life. I have absolutely been there. There were times where I was probably spending 20 hours a day laying in bed, and I absolutely slept to escape. And when I couldn't sleep, I still couldn't get up. I would lay there and just sort of. I don't even know what the right term is, but I would just lay there in my misery, so to speak, and hope that I could fall back to sleep. And I used that very much as a coping skill for a long time. And what saved me was finally opening up and talking to somebody who was a professional and saying to them, "It's a very difficult thing to do." As a guy, and I think it's a very difficult thing to do as a guy from our generation. Now it's a very common thing for people to talk about therapy and things like that. But in our generation, who went to therapy? Well, crazy people went to therapy, right? Like we were not raised to believe that therapy was something that people did just because they wanted to feel great. We thought that if you went to therapy, it's because, there was something really wrong with you. And there was such a stigma around mental health for our generation that I fought this in a really big way. And then on top of that, I was in a prison, and to say you need help for something psychologically in prison is like telling all of the fellas that their first thought goes to, this guy's going to see the shrink because he's scared, or this guy's going to see the shrink because he's weak. And inside the prison system, scared and weak are a couple of descriptions that you'd really rather not people use when describing you as an inmate or as a convict. So it was a struggle, but I reached out to a medical professional, and it took about 5 or 6 days to actually get in and see a doctor. And I think again it was a God thing for me that I happened to be in the right facility at the right time. Because the doctor that I went to see was incredibly caring and actually spent a lot of time talking to me. And I was put into a program where. So I'm sorry. I was put on a program where I went to counseling 1 day a week to talk about my feelings and to talk about what was going on in my life. And they put me on a drug called Bupropion, which is the generic for Wellbutrin. And at the time, they started me out at 300 milligrams time released once a day. They moved me up eventually to 450 milligrams time released. Once a day, I would take it in the morning. And it really it started me on a process of allowing myself to work on me. Jay, it is incredibly hard to stop using drugs. If you don't mind, since we're not exactly sure who you are or anything else, but if you could tell us what drugs you're taking, it gives us a little bit of a better perspective when we're talking to you. One lady, BB, means that we're praying for somebody. It's some people don't pray; they send positive thoughts. Some people, pray. Some people have other rituals that they do. Whatever it is our way of saying that our thoughts and prayers are with you. For me personally, it means that I'm going to put you onto my prayer list and my prayer journal, and therefore I will pray for you daily. And it's I for one here take it very seriously. I do pray for a lot of people on the boat by name on a several time a day basis. It is very much what it is the backbone of what I do here. I don't talk about it as much here because I'm not trying to make anybody uncomfortable, but I spend a heck of a lot of time praying for people on the boat, and um, it's also a very large part of my sobriety now. All of you, but this. So going out on stage and starting to talk, you got to have your facilities about you, right? You have to kind of be on. If you have something going on in your head that isn't the script, then you can be in some trouble. And when I got to a point where there was a show that I did that was about traveling around the country and doing it at ridiculous discounts through a program that you not only could be a part of, but that you could also market yourself. And it was Travel Passport, I believe, was the name of the. In fact, I know it was. It was called Travel Passport, and it was a very great pitch to be a public speaker on because you were selling something in a demonstration, and people would come up and buy it, and they'd buy it with it was $50, and all that cash would go in your pocket. It was a lot of fun. It was a cool time to be speaking. And it was a very, very easy presentation. It sold itself. There was very little that you had to do in order to pitch this, and very short too. I think it was about an hour and 15 minutes or something. But the trouble was, it was so damn easy that I could very easily go out on stage and think about a fight that I had with my wife, or think about the things that I was supposed to be doing. The what I had going on in my life would start circling through my brain at the same time that I was trying to do this presentation. And I can't tell you how many times, like, it got to a point where it became such an issue that I would start getting really nervous before I would go on stage. I had about a 2 or 3 week run, especially during some of the worst times of that period of my life. I had a 2 week run where it was happening every single time I went on stage. I would have a brain fart of some kind. And it got to a point where there was one of the girls that worked on my road crew. She ran credit card machines at the end of the show. Really, really nice girl I knew years ago. And she would almost like you would have on in a stage production. This girl would hang out close enough to where I was so that I could look down at her and she could basically tell me exactly where I was in the presentation. And I've told this story before. Once I was out on stage and I was doing this presentation, and I looked down and Eleanor was not anywhere to be found, and I didn't know what I was talking about. And I looked out at the people and I said, "Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation and you forgot what you were talking about?" I said, "That just happened to me." And a girl in the front row, just as fast as hell, said, "You were talking about how you can write off the if you do invest in something today, that you can write it off because technically this is a small business." And you were talking about the benefits of the tax breaks and all of that. And I looked at her and went, "Doesn't help at all." Like, even knowing exactly what I had been talking about, I found myself in this room full of people and my brain was literally blank. And the reason for that should be pretty obvious, right? This thing occupies this space. This now can't. I have to move this in order to put that there. And our brain is the exact same way. We are not going to have two thoughts running wild at the same time in our brain. So this mind control issue, not the MK Ultra side of it, but our side of it. Learning to control your mind so that your mind does not tear you apart with negative thoughts. Let's be really honest, people. The vast majority of us here on the lifeboat have lived through some very difficult things in our life. And I don't want to talk about all of the things that, I don't want to dwell on bad things in anybody's life here that is going to make anybody uncomfortable. I'll talk about myself, though. And I'll tell you that there were times in my life that I was in a concrete box that was 8 feet wide and 13 feet long. There were times I was in concrete boxes smaller than that, but never alone. But I was in solitary confinement for very, very long periods of time where it's you and a concrete box, and there's not a television set, and there's not a computer, and there's not a telephone, and there's nothing to distract you except automatic negative thoughts. And it would get to be a situation where the ultimate training ground for trying to eliminate automatic negative thoughts. Because as I'm in that cell, I've got ants crawling on my brain saying things like, there is no point in continuing to live. There's no point whatsoever in you continuing to live. And I'm in solitary confinement, and I've got, the staples in my stomach from being stabbed, and I'm in full blown withdrawal, and I can't even scream to another inmate. I can't shoot a line. You take string and you weave it together to make a rope, but you make a very, very strong and a very thin piece of line by taking multiple pieces of string or thread and weaving it together, spinning it on itself in the opposite direction. And it's called spinning line. And you make this really, really long rope, and you tie it to something heavy, and you can throw it down the tier. So even if you're locked in a cell 24 hours a day, you can get a car, that they call it, which is just a heavy weight made of whatever on the end of a string, into someone else's cell. And you get quite good at this. I mean, it's nothing to fish down to a guy that's 15 cells away. You get very good at it, and people along the way will catch your car and throw it down the tier. What's amazing to me is guys from opposite gangs would pass a car down for each other, because communication is important, whatever. It's one of those things that it's just done. But I had no opportunity to do that. I was in a part of the prison, and there was a fire door between me and everybody else, even who was in solitary confinement. I was on a walk alone status because I had been stabbed, and I refused to tell them what race stabbed me or why. And that's for a prison yard, that's the worst thing in the world, because their biggest fear is that a riot is going to break out, and a white guy just got stabbed and they don't know who stabbed him. And if I had been stabbed by a black guy, or I had been stabbed by a Mexican guy, which I actually was, that can break off a race riot very quickly. In prison, you're not supposed to stab somebody or fight with somebody outside your race without permission. And you go to a shot caller that runs the yard, and you actually get that permission in order to do it. But I remember sitting in that cell and thinking to myself, this is the lowest point. I'm dope sick. There's no way of getting any. I'm, 46 years old, and this is what my life is. And I thought about, the times when I worked as a public speaker, and I thought about wearing nice clothing and going on stage and having people listen to me. And I thought about all of the opportunities in my life that I pissed down the toilet. I thought about being 18 years old and having just done a major motion picture. I was an actor, and I was 18, and I had just been in a film with Chevy Chase. And I thought, this should have been the opportunity of a lifetime, or the ability to ski at a higher level, maybe do Olympic stuff. And when you're in that environment, and those automatic negative thoughts are just telling you, you have failed at everything you have ever done. You have let down every single person in your family, and the world would be a better place if you weren't in it. And those thoughts just running wild. And I remember the mail call coming, and I was hoping to get some pictures. I had written a letter to my wife and asked for some specific pictures, and it had been weeks, and I hadn't seen it. So when mail call came, I was hoping, and I got this brown manila envelope, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. Because when you get manila envelopes, it's usually almost always pictures. And I needed that. I needed those pictures. It was going to be something that was going to make the day easier. And I ripped it open, and it wasn't pictures. It was a letter that said, there's a million things that I wish I could say to you right now. But she just went with, I want a divorce instead. That was pretty much the entire letter. You need to sign this really quickly. I'm going to end up losing our house, and I'm trying to do some refinancing, and you need it. But I got my dear Tommy letter at that moment. And at that period of time, nothing in the entire world was worse as far as my ability to try to get the thought that was in my head the hell out of my head. right? Because I knew that this was right here. She just asked for a divorce. You're a piece of crap. You're in prison, not for the first time and not for the second time, but this is your third rip. You're a 3-time loser. You're 46 years old. You're getting a divorce. You just got stabbed and life flighted off of a prison yard at 46. What is the point of getting up tomorrow? How much life have you even got left? If you could turn your life around instantly, what the hell's the point? And this thought won't go anywhere. So I needed to learn very quickly how to get that out of there. And what I learned was that the only way to do it is like this, right? You knock that thing the hell out of the way. You have to replace it with another thought. You know, I'm not a guy that can meditate and clear those kind of thoughts out of my mind and sit there doing nothing. It's not possible. I have to replace that thought. And at the time, really, I had no clue what I was doing and what I could do. And then the process started. This was a week into my stabbing. And then the process started, and I started to do a tremendous amount of praying, and I started to really work on, and you know, the amazing thing is that I have a memory unlike anybody, right? I have a very unusual memory. And I sat there, I remember sitting in the cell thinking to myself, I guarantee you the answer to every single thing that I need to hear right now, everything that I need to hear right now is in my brain. Sitting in there somewhere was the answer. I have it. I just don't know where to call it up from or anything else. And that was really a thought that was plaguing me, because I knew that in my memory banks was the perfect thing that could take me out of this. And I started to pray, and it was I remember very distinctly sitting in the cell, and I started to sort of go through a filing system of, well, you know what? I was paid to go to Betty Ford. They probably said something there and they didn't. But I started going through all of these experiences and trying to remember what I learned. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I've spent a ludicrous amount of time around Tony Robbins. I went through everything he did. I went through all of his different training programs. I did the fire walk, and I did, taking your life back, and all of the things that Robbins has done. I've done a lot of it. I don't think I've done all of it. I've done a lot of it though. And I sat and I started thinking, and I remembered him telling the story about putting himself into a keyed up position. And this was something that I had started doing before I went on stage. It was actually the cure to the phenomenon I was telling you about earlier. That wandering mind that would kill me as a public speaker. And I've talked about this on the boat before. I don't know that I've ever told the story this way, but what I would do is literally I would take my hand and put it into a fist, and not the part that you traditionally punch people with, but this part, the part that you could make talk if you were doing that silly little puppet guy, right? And I would hit myself in the chest, and I would do it about as hard as I could. And then I would do it again. And then I would do it again. And I would give it 4 really good shots in the chest right before I would go on stage. And I would do it. I would do it, right? I would rock it. And it was a thing that I had watched for years, not just Robbins, but a couple of other public speakers do before they went on stage. And originally I did it honestly, because if those guys went on with one shoe on, I probably would have gone out with one shoe on. I had no idea why I was beating the piss out of myself, but I was there doing it before I went on stage. And what I learned later on in life, and this is still a tool. This for me is like a ripcord. When things are really, when I can't get a thought out of my head, when I cannot delete the thought in my head, and I go, oh man, I'm doing that again. I'll think about the positive stuff. I'll think about, I'll run analytics in my head, or I'll think about, and then I go right back. Within seconds, I'm back thinking about, oh man, you're a loser. How did you let this happen? All of this is happening to you at once. You got to be the dumbest. When those things would start back and I couldn't break that cycle, I'd go right back to this. 4 really hard ones. And right around that 4th one that you're just hammering yourself in the chest, right? If you really do that, right, you give yourself 4 fairly good ones. Instantly, there's the pain of the shot, right? But inside your dome piece, your brain's going, what the hell just happened? Right? Seriously, we've talked about how your brain doesn't know. The reason we got to stop and count to 10 when we're almost having an anxiety attack is why? Because your brain doesn't know whether or not you're getting chased by a bear. Your brain doesn't know whether or not you're about to get into a fist fight. Your brain doesn't know that you're not just a little panicky, right? Your brain thinks this is the real deal. There's a disconnect between the brain, the eyes, and all of that. Doesn't work like you think it does. So you stop and you count to 10. Why? Because nobody who's ever been chased by a bear stopped to count to 10. It tells your brain, we're in good shape. Look at this. He's breathing slowly. He's counting to 10. Life is good. However, if you do this number, right, your brain starts having that same panic. And now your brain's going, why is he hitting himself in the chest? What is going on? Or who just hit us in the chest? What's going on? And endorphins start instantly, because when your body feels some discomfort of a good size, and that shot to the chest is something you're going to feel. And instantly your brain is going to start releasing endorphins. There's no getting around that. And they have a very unique way of sweeping whatever the hell you're thinking about out of your brain. Because again, you were sitting there and you're having a thought, a negative thought that you did not have to conjure up on your own. This is an automatic negative thought. Well, now that you've got that feeling, now that you've got that endorphin feeling, I now start to replace whatever that thought is. And I have a much easier time cementing whatever that thought is, because I've put myself into an altered state. There's no other way to say that makes sense, but you're putting yourself into an altered state. Your brain chemistry is going to change. If you've been paying attention to the lifeboat at all since I started the channel, did you notice my voice change? Think about it. When I started doing this number, right? When I started doing this number, instantly the cadence of my voice changed. I didn't do that for your benefit. It just happens because all of a sudden I'm not in the same position I was. I just changed my state. And it is much easier for me to eliminate ants and to get focused and to concentrate on things. If I'm really struggling, I don't do this every morning. I don't do this before every show. But if I'm struggling, I go right back to it. Why? Because it works. And it has for a very long time in my life. You know what? We got about 40 people on the morning show. That's beautiful. Big shout out to Heather for all the work she puts in here, keeping this thing going. When, we do a lot here, and it would be impossible for me to be doing all of the work on the boat without the amazing amount of effort that Heather puts in. She made that show happen last night. She set all of that up, had everything ready. And it's funny. I thought last night, people just don't have any questions. And then about 60 of you, probably honestly, 13 of you sent me questions that they want for Dr. K for next week. So I think that we were probably on to something that's a pretty cool idea. I'm pretty happy about that. Jay says, thanks for the reply. It's heroin and crack that I used. Someone attacked me with a machete, and I believe that played a big part in my usage and with my mental health issues. I should imagine it could. I'm hoping that you're all right from the attack with the machete. Heroin and crack are a very tough combination. I did spend a period of time in my life abusing both. My drug of choice was heroin. So anytime I was doing a drug, I was doing that drug and heroin. For about 30 years of my life, it was always something and pain meds. But heroin and crack in particular are a very tough combination. Because the things that drive most crack addicts insane will not drive most heroin addicts insane. Because when you're doing a combination of those drugs, when you smoke crack, you go straight up and you're high for a very brief period of time. In all honesty, you're 20 minutes after you smoke crack, you need more crack. And when that feeling starts to crash, if there's nothing in your system, that crash makes people kill one another to get money, to get more. It's one of those very, very terrible, terrible crashes in the drug world. The heroin takes the edge off of that. So if you're doing smack, it's like a speedball, except instead of using a needle, you're using your lungs, which is a faster delivery method anyway. So it's a tough one that you're fighting, Jay. It's a difficult thing. If the heroin has reached a point where you are physically dependent on it, if you've got a full-time habit, if you're not chipping away at this, but if you're doing heroin every single day, you may need medical assisted treatment to get off. Are you in the United States, Jay? What part of the world are you in, brother? I would post scripture verses all over the house. So when I would start fixating on negative thoughts, I had replacements near to hand. Some took time, but eventually committed many to memory. I love that, Kelly. You know what I found interesting? This is just a side note story, but it popped into my head, so you're going to have to hear it because that's what you got to put up with in order to in order to listen to the UK you're in. Okay, I don't know, Jay. I don't know how the UK is with Suboxone. I don't know how that part of the world is with medical assisted treatment, mate. But that's what you need if you're doing heroin on a daily basis. Buprenorphine. Which is Suboxone or Subutex is an incredible drug for detox. It's probably one of the best that there could be, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's a really great one. So if that's a possibility, I would work on that. As far as putting those verses all around, the previous church that I attended was redoing their church, their entire facility. And I was in there once, and they were laying down the carpet near the pulpit, and they had people from the church all write down verses of scripture on a piece of paper, and they laid it on the floor right next to the everybody's favorite verse. And I said, "What's going on with all of the paper?" They're laying the carpet on top of it. And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because it sounds like a seventh joke, but the minister wanted to always be standing on the word of God." And that's no joke. It really happened. But I found that funny at the time. I thought that was, it almost sounded like a seventh joke, but it's the, just come off my oxys for pain after 10 years. I'm on Suboxone, and it helps as much for my pain, if not more, than the oxy, with none of the adverse effects. Kelly Gerling, I have heard this from other people as well. It's hit or miss with Suboxone as a painkiller. For some people, it is the end all and be all. I'll be honest. It does remarkable things for my pain. I have been absolutely blessed that it has. I did that one time when I replaced the carpet, except I used a marker and wrote scripture all over the floors. I love that, Ladybug. I think that's really cool, actually. I really do dig that. Rated most intelligent. I know he's not talking about me, so I'm not sure what he's talking about, but it certainly isn't me. If it was, I would have thrown up this face right here. I love that shocked guy face. That, what? What? So the concept of mind control is probably one of the most important things that you're going to go through on this process of trying to live your best life. Thanks for being here and sharing with us. Oh, Annette, thank you. I'm the lucky one. Make no mistake. The lifeboat has given me a opportunity to live my life with meaning and with a mission, and it has put me into situations here at the you know what, people, no matter how good life is, right? I think it's fairly safe to say that I'm not in the first half of my life, right? So as you get older, and as I get older, I think more and more about about a legacy, so to speak. And I don't mean that I want to be famous and all of that crap, because I'll be really honest with you. All you need is a very small dose of famous to realize that famous probably really isn't what you would ever want in a big dose. My dad was an oxy, etc., for more than 10 years for pain. It actually made his pain tenfold worse. Now he's off of it and active and happier than ever. There are people reading this comment who don't believe it. I'm going to put it up on the screen. There are people who are reading this comment and they're thinking, you know what, she's wrong. He's not going to be feeling in more pain if he's on oxys. There are people who are going to read that, and I promise you, that's going to be their thought. And their point of reference is going to be, I ate an Oxy 80 once in my life, and man, I was wasted. I couldn't feel anything. I scratched the skin off of my nose. So there are people out there whose point of reference for pain medication is very, very limited to the very few times that they did it in their life. And of course, the first time that you coat your receptors, the first time you really turn on the faucet on that MU receptor, it is going to kill pain of every single kind. But there is so much truth to the fact that when you begin to take high doses of pain medication every day of your life, the pain that you start to endure is created by the lack of the drug. In other words, like we've talked about this a lot on the Lifeboat, but if you're new to this, hear me out before you decide that I'm an idiot, because I get emails about this all the time. My pain is real. Your pain is real. Psychosomatic pain hurts. Make no mistake. Okay, so if we take this tube of hot balls that my brother Johnny makes, which is on the way to a couple of you actually, and I take this ball and I slam it on my finger on top of this thing as hard as I can, right on top of my finger. Obviously, there's going to be pain, right? There's going to be a message that goes from the nerves to the dome and back that says, ouch, right? That hurt like hell. The exact same thing can happen. That message can go from the finger to the brain and back without me hitting it. No mechanism of injury, but I can get the exact same message sent. And that's called psychosomatic pain. And unfortunately, when you take high doses of pain medication for a long period of time, when you go into withdrawal, your body goes back to pain that was exquisite. It goes back to pain in your life that was over and above anything. Pain levels of 7, 8, and 9 that you endured, that time you broke your leg, that time you were in a car crash, that time you got beat up in high school, that time you fell skiing, right? All of these different things, that time you got stabbed. Well, your brain just starts recreating that pain from memory. And again, memory pain and real pain, the chemical process that causes those things to happen are identical. One doesn't have the mechanism of smacking yourself in the thumb with a hammer, and the other does, right? That's the only difference. You're still feeling that pain that's real. So when her dad was able to eliminate the oxy out of his body, his brain no longer was going, make that knee hurt and he'll do more oxy. Make that elbow hurt and he'll do more oxy. He's not giving us the oxy we want. Make all of those injuries hurt. He was feeling it. And sadly, so often, because we're feeling it, we're living in psychosomatic pain every single day when we go into withdrawals. Every single day, our brain is telling us, you got a broken back, right? Doctor says, I need a backiotomy. Please tell me somebody got that reference. Doctor says, I need a backiotomy. Sorry, but that makes me laugh. But so it may sound ridiculous to the uninitiated, but I promise you that when Valerie's dad stopped taking the opiates, he did, in fact, stop getting his pain got cut down dramatically. It was at the end, the drug itself causing the pain. That's real. That happens. Subutex was a blessing. Now the cost is way down. So would recommend it. Love you, bro. Rick Smith, great comment. Yeah, the price can be prohibitive. There are other ways. There are places that you can go that people will help you. Lovely drug. Give that developer a raise. Well, that the guy that came up with that drug was a gentleman by the name of John Lewis, and he was actually trying to make a drug that women could have during childbirth who were allergic to the morphine molecule. That was the goal of Suboxone when it was first designed. And it got shelved for decades. And then it was resurrected when people realized some of the unique properties. The fact that the drug by its lonesome is actually an agonist antagonist, right? It not only blocks some other opiates from attaching itself to the mu receptor, but it also works as a full antagonist and actually like turns on the receptors to give you the same release of pain medication to a smaller degree, but it works for a much longer period of time. It really is a pretty well designed substance, but it is uniquely perfect for what they use it for. Belbuca is like Suboxone, buprenorphine lower dose, used now as an alternative pain meds, and it's called Belbuca. Crazy Cat, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. That is something I did not know, and I'm going to have to, if I can find where squirrel through the pen. I am going to research this. I hate it when I hear something that I don't know, but I mean, I love it, but I feel stupid not. Is this new? Belbuca. I have not. So it's like an off-label use for buprenorphine. I like it. Really, I like it. Helps with my mood too, big time, says Kelly Gerling. Well, I'll tell you a little secret. There is another country other than the United States of America who is currently using buprenorphine in a double-blind study for treating depression, and they are treating these individuals with really low doses. I mean, the how low this dose is would blow your mind. They're talking about giving Belbuca sounds like an Eddie Murphy movie. Seventh, that's actually really funny. They're giving it in like less than a milligram. The dose sizes are less than a milligram. They used to give Suboxone to soldiers in the 50s. There is some truth to that. They definitely did some experimentation in the 50s because it is a very long acting pain medication. But for long acting pain medication for like battlefield use and things of that nature, they tend to go with methadone more. And I think it's probably a better drug purely as a painkiller. But all of the other things that go along with it are there's some other, in my opinion, for me, Suboxone was a better avenue. Some people swear by methadone. I think methadone is a better painkiller personally, but take notes, Tommy, please. I forget things. Well, I'm going to look into Belbuca. I promise that because I am fascinated to hear that they're marketing this under another name. But they are definitely experimenting with giving this to people for depression. Full of Hope's wedding reception was full theme the Blues Brothers. Ray-Bans required. I wonder if my brother Johnny is here because that would he would get a kick out of that. We good morning, CK. We had a Blues Brothers thing that was unhealthy. We were so into that movie it was probably not healthy. Stick a little square to the cheek. Yeah, right. I mean, there's if it works, and I think they are going to find that this is. I think you're gonna see that they start using this for the treating of depression. That's an opinion. You can, we'll see if that pans out. If we're around in a couple of years, you can tell me if I was right. You know what, Annette? That's how I started. The same line, right? There are so many suffering folks out here. If I could just reach one. Sound familiar, Johnny? Um, it's a beautiful sentiment, and it really is. It's a beautiful thing to say, and it's a beautiful thought to have, and I love that. And I love that, and I love that you're here. Thank you so much. CK, nice to see your font. Ladybug says, CK, so nice to see your font. We can get methadone in Tennessee. We have to go to North Carolina. We can not get methadone in Tennessee. We have to go to North Carolina for treatment. That is insane. I have never heard that, Rick. I have never heard that. So you can't get it from a doctor or at a clinic? That's insane. Hold on one second, peeps. Yeah, that really is a very cool concept for a wedding reception. I'm not going to lie. I love that. Yeah, you know what? I think I know the words to every single song in that film. I definitely could have been at that reception and fit right in to be sure. My brother could have as well. Yes, we do have Subutex and methadone here in the UK. We are also getting fentanyl and monkey dust in the last couple of years. I am so sorry to hear that, man. I am so sorry to hear that. But I would look into to getting on some strips, Jay. If you reach out to me, I'll talk to you one-on-one and talk to you about The whole process of Suboxone. I've done shows on it. You can go back and look at it, and I've probably got 4 or 5 hours, I think, of me talking about Suboxone. But if you're serious, Jay, and you're looking to do it, then reach out to me. I'll talk to you one-on-one. Send me an email at sober@myyahoo.com. SOBER@myyahoo.com, and we'll try to get you on the phone within a couple of days and see about, if you really want to get off this stuff, that's probably you're going to be your best bet. It really is an amazing drug. It is an absolutely amazing drug for what it was designed to do. It really has saved a lot of lives. And if done correctly, you can get in there, you can get treated from the stuff. And if you want to wean yourself off of it, you can do it very, very, very slow. And it saves the pain of withdrawal. It really does. And I went 3 days without it last week. The withdrawal from it is not like withdrawing from heroin. It's nothing like that. So it's not something that you need to worry too much about. There was a question for you, my friend, on what is it in the UK that you are calling monkey dust? Because there are a lot of curious people here. To be honest with you, I've not heard that term myself, which is always CT Prada asks as well. What is monkey dust? Because that's a new one to me. Unless it's, what comes to mind is, meth, PCP, or blow, right? But I guess monkey dust could be anything. We used to snort ecstasy back in the day. And then I would grab the camera and make short movies. Another one of those jokes for someone that will never hear it, but makes you go ape. Yeah, Suboxone was giving me massive headaches after taking for 10 years. I stopped taking 2 years ago. Good for you, Crazy Cat. Getting off after 10 years is impressive. By that time, a lot of people struggle getting off, but I'm proud of you, man. That's fantastic. Drugs are just as messed up today as this world we live in. And boy, are you right in that. Just as years ago, the drug world was so much different than it is right now, so is the rest of the world. So I guess that should make sense, shouldn't it? But you're 100% right. You really are. And it's a little distressing. But it is the world that we live in. Have we... Yeah, right, Crazy Cat? And in that 10 years, you learned how to live sober, right? I mean, because you weren't getting wasted on Suboxone. So for that 10 years, you literally lived sober and learned how to. And there's a real blessing in that. And I still don't know what monkey dust is, but I'm going to assume you put it up your nose with a straw. That's one of those things. You know what, Crazy Cat? Man, do I love everything about how you just talked about that. Crazy Cat was on Suboxone for 10 years. And then he started getting headaches that he believed were caused by the Suboxone, and got off Suboxone. The headaches, I assume, went away. And you could hear somebody having 1,000 reasons to complain about that. That damn drug gave me headaches. The Crazy Cat said, you know what, though? It saved my life. And I think, I've been on Suboxone 3 years. 3 of my 8 years of sobriety, I've been on Suboxone. And I do look forward to the day where I'm not taking it anymore. And I honestly believe that will happen this year. I do honestly believe that will happen this year. I see somebody wrote, oh, Kathy, you're still here. Kathy, how did your concert go? Did you do the voodoo that you do so well? I wrote to you because I knew you were concerting, and I wrote "break a leg," which was always, a big thing in theater. And I thought, holy crap, I hope that's not like bad luck in music. So then I wrote something along the lines of, go out there and kill it. And then I think I said something about doing that voodoo that you do so well. And I'll tell you, people, she can play. Kathy's talented as hell. She really is. She is an amazing musician. It's a lot of fun to like watching M Hunt play the bass, where it's just a really, really good time. He is also a very, very talented individual. Should I give the dog CBD today? Sure, why not? I mean, I'm not for giving dogs, things that are psychoactive, unless maybe they're getting on an airplane or something like that. But anything that you can give to make your animal happier or healthier, I think, is a really good idea. I'm pretty damn partial to this one next to me. Monkey dust equals bath salts. Okay, there you go. There you go. So bath salts, very ugly drug. Very, very ugly drug. Hey, V, good to see you. Just woke up. She says, well, that's all good. Every once in a while, you got to sleep in. Much love, full of hope. MDPHP monkey dust. Okay. So yeah, it's a bath salt iteration. One of the one of these new drugs that they crank out in where we're at the end of this video. Screw them, right? It's in China. People, please do me a favor. Hit that like button. If you're one of the individuals here today who has not subscribed to the Lifeboat, come on, do the Lifeboat a favor and hit subscribe. 20% of our audience does not subscribe, and that is we would sure prefer it if they did. It's nice when we get people that join the community and do it for real. And then hit the bell for notification. Make sure you hit all, and by hitting all, you will get all of the videos we do. And you know what? We do a stink load of them. We do a minimum of 2 videos a day, live at the 5s. People, today, in theory, I will be on over on Growing Up in Scientology. Yesterday, I got bumped. He had too much quality stuff to put on, and he did put on some pretty good videos yesterday, so I won't give him any crap. But I should be on today. He sent me a message saying he was going to call me, and we're going to be doing a show over on Growing Up in Scientology. And you know what that means, crew? That means that we're going to get a new influx of people over here on the Lifeboat. So let's give them a big welcome when they get here and make me proud the way you always do. Literally. Hold on one second. I never mixed drinks with meds. I was at 12 a day before I started pain meds. Was away from drinking 15 years. Don't have a desire anymore. It's crazy. Something did positive come out of it. You know what? Yeah, you're damn right. That's positive. Crazy cat. Damn right. That's positive. All right, people. This is what we're going to do. If they have their setting on private and subscribe, it will not show your name or anything about you. So if that's the reason you have not subscribed, then set your settings to private and subscribe. Do you see that? Good Lady BB. How about that? Lady BB, thank you. I did not know this. This is something that I did not know. So I'm gonna leave that up there for the duration of this, because we're at the top of the hour, but I'm gonna leave that there so that is the last thing that people see. I want to thank everybody here who stayed until the end. And a lot of you do. Our watch time, people, is the average length of time that somebody watches one of the videos that we do here on the Lifeboat is by far 4 or 5 times what the nationwide average is. Okay, sorry. All right, peeps. I will be seeing all of you here on the boat, and I do hope to see you all over on Aaron's channel. Aaron. You know who will be there, don't you? Balake. Balake will be there. Aaron will be there. I'll be there, I promise you. Good chance there'll be a cat in a basket. You know what time it is, don't you, peeps? It is that time of the show where the real star comes out. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, but this is Squirrel, the cat in the basket. What do you say, kitty? Huh? Look at that. Little foot action. She's a good sport. One brown foot, one black foot. She is the official mascot of the Lifeboat. Squirrel Nut Zipper. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you on the boat. God bless.